Secretary of Defense Ash Carter did misspeak last week with remarks that caused a firestorm in both Washington and Baghdad. He explained the takeover of the city of Ramadi by ISIS, saying,
"The Iraqi forces just showed no will to fight."
He only forgot to complete the sentence by adding the words, "for Iraq." It's clear there are many people willing to fight fiercely and bravely in that part of the world. Just look at the levels of violence. The Kurds fight ferociously for Kurdistan. The Shiites have been fighting doggedly for their people. The Sunnis in ISIS are killing and dying for their cause. But nobody seems willing to fight for Iraq. The problem really is not that Iraq's army has collapsed, it's that Iraq has collapsed. ISIS is at heart an insurgency against the governments of Iraq and Syria. And no insurgency can thrive without some support from the local population. ISIS gets that support from the discontent of Sunnis in both countries who feel they are being persecuted by the Shiite and Alawite governments. Munith al-Dagar runs a polling firm in Iraq that has conducted more than 1 million interviews in the country over the last decade. He points out that the vast majority of Sunnis in Iraq despise ISIS. More than 90% of Iraqis in Sunni-predominant areas regard it as a terrorist organization. But al-Dagar writes, ISIS has been able to capitalize on the deep, profound discontent Sunnis felt with the central Iraqi government. The sectarian partitioning of Iraq, with Shiites moving to Shiite areas and Kurds and Sunnis doing the same, began with the civil war in 2006. But it has accelerated dramatically. Today, Sunnis cannot find towns in Iraq where they can resettle. We need to face the facts. Iraq today no longer exists. In 2008, 80% of those polled said they were Iraqi above all. Today, that number is 40%, according to the pollster al-Dagar. The Kurds have taken every opportunity to further enhance their already considerable autonomy. I recently asked a Kurdish politician how many Kurds would support independence for their provinces. He replied, somewhere between 99 and 100%. 12 years after Saddam's fall, the Kurds and the Baghdad government still cannot agree on a lasting deal to share oil revenues. The sectarian divide goes beyond Iraq and feeds into it. Iran supports the Baghdad government and Shiite militias. And Sunni regimes like Saudi Arabia have been accused of funding Sunni militant groups in both Iraq and Syria and have declined to support the Baghdad government much, even in its struggle against ISIS. After many announcements of Arab airstrikes, joint forces, and military aid, the reality remains that many of the Arab states around Iraq are more anti-Shiite than they are anti-ISIS. Republicans urging that Americans join with an Arab force to fight ISIS might not have noticed, but there is no such Arab force. Washington can provide aid, training, arms, air power, even troops, but it cannot hold together a nation that is falling apart.